Stacking sats is a grind, or at least it should be. I think in bull markets, it can be tough to concentrate on the discipline of steady accumulation of sats day in, day out, week after week, month after month. When your Bitcoin stack starts to substantially appreciate in value relative to fiat, there's a certain temptation to ease off, to slack, to get lazy, to stop stacking sats, to stop accumulating on a regular basis, because the amount that you accumulate, the additional sats that you buy, let's say every paycheck, starts to become so low compared to the full value of your Bitcoin holdings that there's this danger where you might just decide, oh, that's good enough for me. I think that this is not the way to look at Bitcoin. It is not the mentality of someone who truly has internalized the true nature of Bitcoin, what you're really dealing with here. If you recognize the magnitude of the opportunity that has presented itself, that we are blessed with, that we have this once in an epoch opportunity to accumulate this new money that it's almost as if it appeared from another dimension. From this perspective, to stop accumulating Bitcoin is to betray that you have not really internalized the true nature of the opportunity here. I think that during bull markets in particular, it is essential to maintain that discipline, the same mindset, the same approach to accumulating Bitcoin as you would during the bear market. During the bear market, there's no excitement, there's no dopamine, there's no thrill of seeing that fiat inflation of your Bitcoin holdings. And that is what makes disciplined Bitcoin stackers, is the bear markets, because that's when it becomes a grind. That's when the only source of motivation comes from you. The only feedback that you're getting is seeing those sats accumulate steadily, just a little bit at a time. But every sat matters. Every sat makes a difference. And I think it's really critical to maintain that mindset during a bull run. In fact, it's probably, I think it is more important during a bull run because, for one, it will reinforce in your mind that when the bull run really starts to get crazy and Bitcoin starts to melt up, you're not going to be tempted to sell for fiat. Because why would you sell for fiat if last paycheck you just bought, $100 or whatever your savings allowed? If you just bought Bitcoin, why would you suddenly sell? And that's why I think it's really important that you remain disciplined. You dollar cost average. This is, if you're new to Bitcoin, you really need to understand the power of the DCA to just automatically buy Bitcoin no matter the price. I buy Bitcoin at current prices. You can see the timestamp on this video. I buy at this price. I buy at whatever price it will be 3 months from now. For me, the fiat price is irrelevant because I've thought about this for years. I've contemplated the ramifications of what happens if Bitcoin succeeds, and with every year that passes, it becomes more and more apparent that Bitcoin is succeeding. It is absolutely on track. It is on the path toward what some call hyper Bitcoinization. And if that is true, if it ultimately does succeed, then really the only logical conclusion you can make from that in regards to whether you should buy or sell is you should just buy. You should buy steadily. You should buy with discipline, because this is a long-term game. You should not use leverage, right? You're not a trader. You don't want to be exposed to that risk. You should make sure that you have no debt. Pay off your debts, right? Don't use debt to buy Bitcoin. That's antithetical to the whole idea of Bitcoin. Even if you do get lucky and it works in your favor, it's not going to give you that same feeling of accomplishment, or that same feeling when you save money. It's a wholly different mentality than when you use leverage on a trade and you're on the right side of it, because one was gambling, one was speculation, and the other was discipline, and the other was austerity, the other was sacrifice. And one of those mentalities, one of those approaches to Bitcoin, to accumulating Bitcoin, will strengthen you as a person, and the other will weaken you. Because this isn't just about accumulating a Bitcoin stack. This is about improving your character. I think that's a very unique aspect of Bitcoin. I don't see that with so many other assets, whether they be traditional financial assets or altcoins. You don't see that dimension in which the asset actually improves the person. If you approach the accumulation of Bitcoin with this mentality, you will see that you become more disciplined in your life. You will see that discipline and order start to manifest themselves in other areas of your life that have nothing to do whatsoever with finance or crypto or money. That's why this YouTube channel is called Bitcoin Esquisses, because this is about training, this is about practice, this is about discipline and growth. Anyone in Bitcoin who has been through a full cycle, so roughly a 4-year cycle, if they have sold, very typically that person will relate to you that they regret selling. That almost always whatever they sold for was not worth the trade in retrospect. And the inverse of this, I think, is also true. The failure to accumulate when you could have, given time, I think will be a source of regret. It could be that you will, if you dollar cost average, you will accumulate Bitcoin at a price point where at some point it crashes, and and relative to where it crashes, that price point wouldn't look like a very good buy. But as time goes on, you will see that all of that just fades away. Whether you were buying at 6,000 or 10,000 or 12,000, that all really starts to compress together and just, relative to 100,000, it basically almost becomes a rounding error. And I think that if you're buying now at whatever price Bitcoin is, it's what, 50,000 or something. That, I believe, one day will be a rounding error. And in that sense, really, all you have to do is just be disciplined. Just grind. Work. Be productive. Don't spend on what you don't need. There's so much fat in what most people spend that can be just cut away to the bone. I would also say that this practice of the disciplined accumulation of sats provides a person with more motivation when they roll out of bed in the morning to an alarm clock and they have to get dressed and go to work, perhaps go out into the cold, start up the car during a snowstorm, and then drive to work for however long their shift is. When you know every shift that you report to and every hour that you work, that a portion of that productivity is going to be stored in the form of a percentage share of absolute scarcity, the most absolute scarcity that humankind has ever glimpsed or had the ability to buy a share of. When viewed from that perspective, it gives you a lot more motivation to work, because you no longer are just on a treadmill. You are no longer living paycheck to paycheck. You are no longer, even if you were saving, now your savings is not just being inflated away. Now your savings, that it is preserved. That energy is preserved. That work that you put in not only will be preserved, but it will be amplified. The energy that you put in to the Bitcoin network that you yourself as a human produced, that energy is going to be amplified within the Bitcoin network as it continues to exponentially grow. And that that'll give more meaning to work. It'll give a sense of accomplishment. It'll give a reward, a long-term reward for your labor, for your productivity, for the value that you produced. It's kind of like a form of a pension. Most people don't have pensions nowadays. Defined benefit pension plans are kind of a thing of the past. And people that do have them, I think we all know that not all of those pension promises are going to be kept. And in that sense, you have to be your own pension provider. You have to ensure that pension for when you're older is there, and that no one will take it, that no one will rob you of it, confiscate it, raid it. No one will, for the common good, declare that the reward for labor put in during the best years of your life has been taken away for whatever reason. No one can do that with Bitcoin. Now, in conclusion, I just want to leave you with a little anecdote and a practical strategy for helping you maintain momentum in regards to consistently stacking sats. And basically, what I used to do was every time I put in a workout and I went to the gym and I lifted, I would come home and I had a bunch of pennies, and I would take 1 penny from the workout and I would put it into a jar. Every single workout that I did was 1 penny. And you know what? That jar accumulated faster than you would think. It it builds up. Before you know it, there's more than $1 in the jar. You know, it every little bit counts. Every penny counts. Every sat that you accumulate counts. And here's a strategy for reminding yourself of this, and also just a generally a practical strategy for just putting a little edge on your accumulation of Bitcoin. So here it is. Buy everything in cash. Pay cash for everything. And what you're going to do is you're going to introduce a sales tax on yourself denominated in Bitcoin. Any change that you get for a purchase that you make, you put into Bitcoin. And you do it preferably every week. You take all the change that you have and you count it up, you put it in your bank, and then you transfer it off to whatever your exchange is and buy the Bitcoin. And that's, first of all, it's a way of it makes you evaluate every purchase, because you know that you're paying more for that object or that product, because you know that there's going to be a few dollar tax on it above and beyond what you're already paying. Except it's a tax that's going to yourself. It's a tax that you're paying now that will pay dividends in the future for you. And this, more than the actual accumulation of sats that this will produce, it's really behavioral. It's really the psychology of it that's important. It's reminding myself to ignore the fiat price, ignore the bear and the bull markets, ignore all the noise, and just put my head down and just grind, save, be disciplined. Bitcoin does what I suspect it is already doing. It is already in the process of doing. Then this is the greatest transfer of wealth in human history that is occurring right before our eyes. I've mentioned that before, but I want to re-emphasize this. This is the greatest transfer of wealth in human history. It is occurring right before your eyes. This opportunity is rapidly coming to a close. Every sat counts.